Alright boys, what's going on? In today's video, we got about 10 tips or tricks. I kind of forgot, I'm a little retarded. We got about 10 tips and tricks for Supercross 25. As of right now, I have about 30 hours or so in this game, so I've kind of sweated my nuts off playing it. Got a lot of hours into it, so I got experience, and I've discovered a few things here and there that can help you get better at this game if you like it or hate it. Me personally, I hated this game for the first 10 hours, so I was playing it. Got better at it with some of these tips, and I think these are going to help you guys out as well. These are in no particular order. I'm just kind of throwing them in random orders. So without further ado, let's get into these tips and tricks, boys. So the first tip we got is counter steering. This has been the big talk with Supercross 25. I'm pretty sure this is how it is in Milestones and MotoGP games. And in Supercross 25, that is how you corner better. You no longer push your sticks in the same direction to turn. If you do that, you're just going to fall on your damn ass. Or you're going to understeer off the goddamn New Zealand or some shit. It is nuts. It is a very weird thing to get used to in this game. I have my controller inputs on screen so you guys can kind of look at it with the gameplay of how I'm doing it. So if you want to go into a left-hand corner, use your left stick to turn left. And your right stick goes right, and that's how you corner better. And you don't understeer and go flying off the track. And as you're entering a berm or a rut, whatever you want to call it, you slowly start to move that back to the left or let go of it. It is a very confusing thing to get used to. Like, it took me like at least 10 to 15 hours to get the hang of. It is a very janky and kind of clunky control mechanic. It's very weird, especially when you're coming into a 90-degree corner out of a rhythm section. It is very weird because you have to start turning your sticks in the opposite direction a couple of jumps before you get to the corner, and if you do that, you can kind of set yourself up better for 90-degree corners. Because if you try and turn the second you land into a 90-degree corner or 180-degree corner, you're probably going to go wide or just completely mess up the corner. So you have to counter steer very early in this game, especially coming out of rhythm sections into 90-degree corners. This helps you rail berms, and it also helps in flat corners as well. The next tip I got is holding the clutch in the middle of the air. Now, this was given to me by one of my subscribers during one of my career live streams the other day. I think it was a guy named Yao55MX or something like that, so I do apologize if I don't remember your name entirely. This comes into more of an effect on the 250, sometimes on the 450 as well, but more so the 250 bikes just because they lack power. Now, this tip really helps with momentum and rhythm sections. Tracks like Daytona, Anaheim 1, San Diego, and Glendale, the tracks that are already updated. If you hold your clutch in the air and release it as you land, you get a bit of a boost, and it just helps keep momentum going. It's kind of similar to MX Race ATV Alive with the clutch boost perk in that game. It's a very similar tactic, but it's not as noticeable in this game in my opinion. I find if you're in a lower gear, this works better, so second gear, something like that. Hold your clutch in the air, rev the shit out of the bike. Let go of the clutch the second you land, and you should get a bit of a boost. It's the same thing when you clutch boost out of corners. It's essentially the exact same thing. This does take a bit of time to get down perfectly, but once you do, you should be able to notice yourself not casing jumps as much, especially on the 250. But again, this does work on the 450 as well. And the second I tried this, after seeing this comment in my live stream, it immediately helped me, so I think you guys should give it a shot too. The next tip we have is what I like to call the wheelie land, which is just landing on your rear tire. And what this does is it helps drastically increase or help keep your momentum going through rhythm sections. If you remember in Supercross 3 how you would nosedive everywhere to keep momentum, in this game it's essentially the opposite, where you land on your rear tire. If you land flat, I find sometimes you just bottom out and lose momentum. Land on your front tire, lose momentum. But for whatever reason, if you land in a wheelie position, it helps really keep momentum, which is kind of strange, to be honest. The meta in the last few games was kind of wheelie glitch over everything, and this time it's kind of the same as well. I would say it's kind of back. You can't necessarily wheelie over stuff as much anymore, but if you land on your back tire after you over jump something, case something, it makes it much easier to blast through rhythm sections like whoops, or just help get your momentum going in rhythms again to double or triple. Because for whatever reason, if you land on all four tires, you're just going to have a hard time going through rhythm sections. And again, this really helps out on the 250. You will notice it probably more. But with the power of the 450, you can really just keep momentum going with this trick. This is one of the more easier ones, so it shouldn't take you guys too long to figure it out. You might notice it more on the already updated tracks like Anaheim 1, San Diego, Glendale, and Daytona again. But this is also useful on every other track, just because in this game it is very hard to keep momentum. So yeah, land on your rear tire every time you are landing, if you case something, etc. And this should help you guys out quite a bit. Next, we got the whip glitch. Now this isn't as extreme as it was in games like MX vs ATV Reflex, but in Supercross 25, it is present in this game. You're not going to jump an insane amount further, but this will help you get over those lips on doubles, triples, and sometimes get you a bit more distance. You might notice it more on huge sends, like especially in like the rhythm attacks and stuff like that. But even on smaller jumps, you can really notice it. The way to do it is just give yourself an oppo whip and kind of push your sticks forward, and it should give you a bit of a boost or a bit of extra distance or height. And this trick really, again, helps keep momentum, helps minimize mistakes. This one can be a little tricky at times, but again, this isn't going to shoot you like 30 feet further. It's going to get you a couple more feet, distance-wise, height-wise, and it should help minimize mistakes when it comes to casing in rhythm sections. The next tip I got is a very simple one. Put on standard physics and switch off advanced physics. Now I'm sure some people, especially like pro players or I don't know, league racers, are going to be pretty upset about this one, but the simple fact is advanced physics is just not as fun in this game. It makes it way too slippery coming out of corners. Even on standard physics, it is still a little slippery out of corners and you still need throttle control. But on advanced physics, you have to feather the throttle so damn much and there's just so much traction loss. It is just simply not fun. It makes the game less enjoyable. So set your ego aside and just put on standard physics. Don't feel like you're a shit player because you take off advanced. Just put on standard. It's just much more enjoyable for me. The second I put on standard, I was like, whoa, this game just got way better. Now, can the game still be enjoyable on advanced? Yes. But sometimes you're just going to want to punch your damn sack because of how much traction you lose on advanced physics. So again, put on standard and you will enjoy the game more. The next tip I got is to glitch through the gate, or jump the gate. Yes, you heard that right. In Supercross 25, the starts are kind of weird and bugged out in this game. They are very difficult to time well, but at the same time, don't worry about jumping the gate or running into it, because if you do, you just glitch right through it when it drops. And I've kind of found out that you're better off just going through the gate instead of trying to time it perfectly. I just think it's a bit too difficult to get starts perfect in this game. Unless you get it down, good for you, but for me, I found that just jumping through the gate, going through it, gets me the same start as if I try to time it perfectly and maybe miss by half a second or something like that. This could be fixed in the near future, I don't know. I don't trust Milestone to really fix their game too much. They usually never do. But yeah, if you want a good start, just gun it through the gate, and yeah, you might get a whole shot even from the outside. You're better off gunning it instead of just trying to time it perfectly, in my opinion. Next is kind of a simple one. This is the bike setup. And for me, I've said this for years with these games, the suspension setup doesn't matter that much at all. It really doesn't. The main thing you want to focus on is the gearing, especially in this game. I find a lot of the time if you have a stock gear setup, in third gear, fourth gear, fifth gear, you just bog like crazy. So I like to keep first and second gear default, and then third, fourth, and fifth, I like to lower them a little bit, play with them, just so I can find the right setting. Sometimes you might want third, fourth, and fifth to be a little higher or a little lower, but me personally, I always put third, fourth, and fifth lower. That way you're not bogging. I usually always have accelerator mapping on modular, because aggressive is just, there's too much slip in this game. Wheelbase shorter, medium, mainly short. Final gear ratio selection, I find medium just seems to work the best for me. Brake response, aggressive. I'll have my bike set up on screen in case you guys want to copy what I do. But yeah, gearing ratio is far more important than the suspension setup in Supercross 25. The next tip I have is lean forward as you come out of corners. In previous games, I find leaning back would actually help, but in Supercross 25, if you lean back, you're probably just going to loop out and wheelie. For whatever reason, leaning forward just gets you that extra bit of traction out of corners. Now, you don't necessarily have to do this, but I find it just really helps in flat corners mainly, especially if you're taking like a tight inside line and want to triple. Leaning forward just helps get that extra bit of traction down. You don't really need to do this at all in like berms and stuff. Pretty much just in flat corners. So maybe the first few laps of raced or some 90-degree corners. Lean forward just helps out a ton in my opinion. I try to lean forward with both of my sticks, but I don't think you necessarily have to do that. You can get away with just the right or the left at times. I try to use both, but again, you can just use one or the other. If you have like really bad throttle management in this game, leaning forward at the corners probably will benefit you a ton. If you have good throttle management, you might not need to use this as much, but it doesn't hurt. The next tip is lean back in the whoops with the left stick. You can do this with just the right stick, but I find leaning back with the left stick is far more comfortable and it just works a little better in my opinion. In previous games, you would kind of lean back with both sticks and balance it, but in Supercross 6, leaning back with the left stick gets you on top of the whoops and you just fly. It does kind of work the exact same with the right stick, but using the left stick is just far more comfortable in my opinion. I guess if you want, you can mess around with the right stick only, but I do recommend going through the whoops and only using the left stick. 4th or 5th gear pinned, and you should just rip through the whoops. If you are on like a custom track, especially mine, where I made some big ass massive whoops, I wanted to make them smaller, but the track editor couldn't really do that because I was already too far out of my fucking track. Thanks, Milestone. Anyways, if you're on a custom track like mine that has big ass whoops, then you're gonna kind of want to balance both your sticks a little bit, but the left stick, again, holding it all the way back, is very beneficial even in huge whoops on custom tracks. For all the stock tracks in the game, just use your left stick, lean back. Let me know if you guys have a different technique in the whoops, but for me, I think this is the best one hands down in the game. The next main tip that we got here is enter corners wide. In previous games, you could kind of come up with a weird sharp angle, do a quick 180 turn, but in Supercross 25, with the slow turning and some of the deformation berm stuff they got going on in this game, you try and enter a corner more sharp and not as wide, you're kind of just going to ride up the berm or do some wonky shit, or you're just going to turn way too slow and not get a good enough corner, exit, etc. Whether you're coming into like a flat corner or into a berm, pre-made rut, berm, whatever you want to call it, it's much more beneficial to enter the corner wide and carry momentum, because in this game you just can't turn very sharp and the turning is super slow. I find this is really beneficial on like the really pre-made huge berms in this game, on like Daytona or on Tampa, but even the deformation berms that kind of rise up in like the insides or outsides, whatever, coming into the corner wide just really helps you out. It is a much better line in my personal opinion, and it just helps keep momentum as you exit the corner. So yeah, do this and your cornering should improve massively in my personal opinion. Now the last tip we have for this video is circle track for XP. Now, if you've played this game, you know that leveling up your bikes and unlocking shit for them, unlocking gear, it just takes an eternity if you're just doing regular length races. It is a huge pain in the ass, but unfortunately, the only way to really level up fast, as far as I'm aware in this game, go on someone's custom-made circle track that has like a 7-8 second lap time. You can make your own if you want. Go on time attack and just do like a couple hundred laps. Like it'd take you 20 minutes, 30 minutes, I don't know. And you will get so much more XP than if you were to go on like a regular race. You can do like 100 laps in maybe 5-6 minutes, and you get like 2000 XP, like around 100 laps, something like that. It is kind of a mind-numbing way to level up your bikes and gear, whatever, in this game. But as far as I'm aware, the only way to level up and get XP in this game is just doing laps. The more laps you do, the more XP you get. So if you're someone who wants to grind every bike and level everything up, this is the way to do it as far as I'm aware. If you have a different tactic, please comment down below. But for me, I think this is the one that works. So if you want to throw on like a movie or a TV show in the background and do this, that's just probably the easiest and most satisfying way to do that, I guess. So yeah, that is all my tips and tricks for Supercross 25 to help you guys get better, have more fun with the game. I find all these have helped me out massively. I feel like I'm forgetting one or two that I know of, but I just couldn't think of any. If there's any I missed, please let me know down in the comments below. Let me know if these help you out. But other than that, that is the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed, and as always, take care.